Right, so still the 7th of the 5th, 2025. Trying to achieve my own erection, air shattering 10 times loud bike, and I've already done a documentary regarding threats and allegations claiming that I've had sex with Sadie when I haven't. And the same with Ian, the same with Stephanie Hill or Jill, same with Amy Weston and other names, but I'm getting a bit pissed off of it. Threats on the increase, and so are the setups starting earlier today for the 7th, between the last day of April, that sort of area, maybe the 1st of May, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th of May, all the setups have been down. But the threats are on the increase ever since I made a statement on Facebook to say that I'm single and not had a partner in my whole life, and people were starting an argument saying that you have sex every Friday, and saying I'm going to fucking knife you, want to fucking start war over it and stuff like that. So I was kicking off a little bit, and obviously the burning problem's bad as well, so that's putting me down in a low state mood as well. So I'll keep you updated on anything else. At the moment seems to be ramming bikes to my fucking penis. Right, so I go communal garden, penis shoots up, air shattering 10 times loud bike. Made fucking clear, alright, Christ you cunt. Right, so they're fucking about with loud bikes to Erctns. There's one thing I couldn't believe. I had a phone call from this John, the one that's a bit funny. What he told me I just can't believe. So obviously he had mental health problems, but when he actually says he's had enjoyment with a girl child and being allowed in to premises of a supported type of living place, well, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect him to say this on the phone. So I've already had a bad day, so I'm not in the mood for hearing about people's sexual relationships. So obviously the loud bike issue, the burning's been very bad, so I'm at the end of my tether, to be fair. Just one of those days where I'm not very happy. Yeah, so John was saying it's a neighbour over the other side, and the father brought this person around for him to go into like this wherever it is he lives. So obviously that I thought that would have happened, but it's caused by schizophrenia. But what he told me is there's nothing like before. Yeah, so this John, I first knew him on the bus. He started chatting to me, and he's on the bus service, which is almost every other day. And when I was using that bus service, I was seeing him about 3 times a week. So he has a habit of telling people that he's funny in a peculiar way, and that sort of thing, like, paedophilia. So, you don't know where to put yourself when he starts talking about that sort of subject, and it's very irritating. You've got to be polite, because obviously he has a mental problem, he has mental health issues. The phone call that I had like just now is just beyond belief, but to be fair. But I don't know the ins and outs of his life, you see. I don't know what his mind's telling him or whether it's true or what, but I've never heard nothing like that before. So it's not unheard of, but it's best kept off, basically, off this recording. But I don't believe that, though it's possible. I don't know what like I said, I don't need the ins and outs and what support he gets and who's dealing with his situation with his mental health or whatever. But what he told me seems a bit unbelievable, to be fair. It could be true. I'll leave that one for you to decide. But yeah, I'll leave it there. There's 2 other sheets that I've not mentioned on this recording, which occurred when I went out earlier. Obviously these setups that occur when I go out, they were down, the setups went down in the late April or the 1st of May. It was definitely either the last day of April or the 1st day of May. All these setups dropped down completely to nothing. You had it here and there, but it wasn't too drastic, and it hasn't been too drastic at times I've gone out in the last several days. As soon as we hit the 7th, it just kicks off. So yeah, so earlier on, it starts off with a music track called I Monster, or One Monster, Daydream in Blue or something like that, which is a track that they were giving free with a Daily Star, is it, back in 2007 area, which is like a chill out track. So I just know the track. But anyway, at the time that occurred, there was a Reform UK t-shirt in my direction, and straight after that they timed that t-shirt that looks like the t-shirt that says ripping you to fucking pieces. And there's a pretty negative name for that t-shirt. I've only ever seen it once or twice, but I've seen lots of lookalikes to that t-shirt, so when I see it, that's why I named the t-shirt. They were timing when the before the Liberal Democrats won the local election for the Yeovil destination in Somerset. I was passing the Ripping You to Pieces paper shredder van while on the bus, passing a sign saying "Vote Liberal Democrats winning here," and it happened so often that the people that were driving that van had a different view. Initially, when they saw me because when they were seeing me, sometimes they were even shouting at me going back, because they were mistaking me as Sir Ben. Then they started laughing when they saw because they were seeing me on a regular basis, especially between April and the June election of 2024. They saw me so frequently that they started laughing and beeping their horn when they passed me, and then pointing to the sign where it says "Vote Liberal Democrats winning here." So this van is a disused stationary van, and it used to have the word "ripping you to pieces" on the side of it. It's not that clear anymore, but you can just about make out what it says on the side, because it's a disused vehicle. This is I thought it was been painted over. I've seen one that looks like that in the past, but obviously when that's occurred I've seen the wrong vehicle. It's still out and about as that. I don't see it much at the moment, but it's here and there. Well, they actually put "Vote Liberal Democrats" in their own. They didn't use a proper orange Lib Dems poster, but they did put it on the side of their van where it says "Ripping You to Pieces" on the side of that van. It turns out true, they do win the election in June, and Labour for the main party. 4 months before all this began, setups were stepped up from the initial setups. 2023 was a calm year, even for threats, especially up until September, even in the building, although there was a lot of banging, because it was in the time period when we had other neighbours here at that time. So, however, late 2021 to around about just before or around September 2022 is the most nastiest time period in my life for threats. People arguing me, photographing me, and sneezing in my face even. There was at least 40 threats every single day of that time period. That's every single day or every time I went out. And could be up to about 200. Could be up to 300 when it came to sneezing in my face. And there was over 40 people every single day in that time period photographing me with their smartphone, mistaking me as other people. And also, when we came into early 2023, I think it is, that was the beginning of where I was getting threats with people using my proper name. Anyway, let's go back to the setups of today. So you had Reform UK, and then what do they make the suggestion of? Kimberly Cox, or Kimberly Hobbs. Now she's a married woman connected to Sadie Dando's side of the family, or the Dando side of the family. I was speaking to Sadie, going back to 2015, 2016 area, when my mum came down for a visit, and apparently she's changed, so she's not the same as what she used to be. Obviously she's in a relationship, she's a single mother, and she doesn't like me, so I'm not bothered by it. However, when it comes to Reform UK, they're trying to make the suggestion of that specific lady rubbing it in with a load of nonsense, basically. So that's basically what's on those two sheets. Just basically a measurement of different suggestions or wording on vehicles, t-shirt names, coming out to apply that. But they want to strongly suggest Reform UK. So the government don't have a clue what they're doing when they're buckling up with all these suggestions that are being muddled up or put around me, or making accusations of sexuality or stuff like that. They're just going with what noetic science technology is telling them, or the elite, and processing in a corrupt way with making the suggestions of Reform UK going into power. Obviously they're not in power as Labour is in power, but they're trying to suggest that there's going to be changes. And obviously once that occurred, we basically have the setups that I mentioned on the previous video. So I've got to do a double one on this one today, so it's 2 in one day. But it's you know, it didn't make sense because the setups were down. It's just kicked off today. There's a couple of police officers I've seen over the last couple of days. They're also looking at me like a piece of shit and making the suggestion that they believe people that are lying about me, leaving messages on my smartphone or showing people pictures with my smartphone of kids or whatever that are naked, where I don't even have a smartphone. So the mental health team had to explain that to them. And also I was accused of a letter that was lying around claiming that I'm trying to do this with women in the graveyard, and they can't provide the evidence of that letter. And then it gets even better, because the police came back the next day and said they received another call of something that I did yesterday, and I wasn't even up there the day before because I was hanging about in this area. I'm not actually sure what I did on that day, but I don't think I actually went out of Thorn House, or if I did, it was just to Aldi's. So I had to explain that to them. So obviously the mental health team were a bit more aware. The mental health team said they've looked at the past and my documentation, and they can see that many people have made accusations or lies that are serious about me. So they've contacted the police, but they don't really need to, but to let them know about, you know, the past, because they were given. It's possible that they might have even contacted the Bridgewater branch, because we go back to when I was living in Bridgewater. There's a lot of stuff they couldn't really sort of state, but there's information that they can gather through word of mouth, which is probably being lost through time, through going down different social workers and support workers and mental health team or whatever. And anything from like never having sex in my whole life to accusations of sexuality, and people taking the piss out of me being sexually abused as a child or whatever when I was living at my old place. And the fact that I'm 43, kind of 44 years of age or whatever. So obviously there's sort of, we were discussing this with one of the doctors that I knew back at my old place. In actual fact, I did a 111 call. It was in the early days of when the burning occurred, and it's my old doctor, and he said he was going to try and who no longer works for that department but works on the 111 service call, and he said, this is happening now, is it? And I said yes. So obviously I had this problem at my old place, and he said, well, he says, I don't know what if I can do it, but he says I'll try and push the council to see if they can, you know, move me on or whatever. But obviously the council are pissing about, and I have just been told recently that you could be here another 5 years before they move you. It seems that they don't seem to want to give these people these places in a hurry, so it doesn't matter what banding you are on, they'll give it to people on bronze, silver, and those on emergency and gold. But if you're on emergency, they have to give it to you. But if you're on gold, so how it works in emergency is the highest you can possibly get. Not many people have that one. And if they bid on anything, they become first bidder unless there's two emergencies that are bidding on the same thing. And then it's given to them one that's more prioritised. When it comes to gold, they pick and choose. When it's silver, they pick and choose, and bronze, they pick and choose. It's not like it used to be. So if you've been on bronze for say 5 years and been on gold for 1 year, the person that's been on bronze is more likely to get it than the person on gold, even though there's no priority to move. But they also work it like this: teenage single mothers under the age of 25 get higher priority than those that are homeless. If you're working and homeless, you get the same priority as a teenage single mother. If you're not in a relationship and a single man, you're at the bottom of the list. But if you are a man that's married or has a partner, you get a higher priority chance on the same banding. If you have mental health issues, depending on what the mental health condition is, they can be fussy about that as well. If you go back 20 years ago when they first did the bidding system, it worked on first bidders. But because people were bidding and getting first position, it wasn't giving those other people that have work the next day to stay up until midnight when they put the new things on to do the bidding or whatever. So they've changed the layout, so they pick and choose and do it differently to how it was done going back 15 years or whatever. And the way they list some of the things is more posh, it's got a standard to it, you know. Whereas more like a warehouse accent going back 20 years on the thing, like, you know, it's like common accent is now they list it in like a posher accent, or an accent of like the youth of today when it comes to the teenage ladies of today, or their dry and sarcastic accent. It's listed like that. It's not in that common warehouse accent, you know, or the way people used to talk in the early 2000s or 90s or whatever. So they've really sort of worded the way they list things. Anyway, I'm going to leave it down now recording.